welcome back to Just Another Stitch. For those that don't know me, my name is Connie, and today I will be showing you how to do a lifeline in knitting. And you may ask, what is a lifeline and why do you need one? Well, when you're knitting, sometimes you make a mistake or you might slip a stitch. And a lifeline will protect your stitches up to the point that you had inserted the lifeline. I highly recommend using one when you're doing lace work or if you're new to knitting. So as you see, I have my little swatch on my needles, and basically I just did a few rows of garter stitch and then the rest stockinette stitch. So what you do is you get a piece of scrap yarn, or you can even use dental floss, and I recommend that you use a thinner weight yarn than what you're knitting with. Also, you want a contrasting color too. And I'm going to show you some different ways to do lifelines, so there's going to be more than just one way that I show y'all. Okay, so you want to take your needle and just put it under your stitches like this, the ones that's connected to the needle, and you just bring them through like this, and you just do that through all through all the stitches on the needle. And you want to make sure you go fully through the stitches. This is not the method that I typically use, which I will show you how I do mine. Okay, I went through all the stitches, and you want to make sure you have enough on both sides, especially if you're doing a bigger project, because when you stretch it out, it is possible that your lifeline could pull through the stitches. But anyway, you see how I have it inserted? And that will protect you. As you see, look, the stitch fell off. All I gotta do let me find it. Let's put it back on like that. Or, you see right here, it's completely off your needles. But you see, those stitches aren't going anywhere. They're protected by that lifeline. And all you have to do is just feed them back on your needle like this. And another thing I want to point out, you don't want to knit into your lifeline when you're doing your stitches. Okay. So that is the first method that I'm going to show y'all. So I'm going to pull my lifeline out. Okay. The next way I'm going to show you how to do a lifeline, and I think this method is really fascinating. I just discovered this method where you take a pair of circular knitting needles, and you want a pair that's smaller than what you're using, because you see the difference. And instead of taking the yarn to feed, you're actually taking the knitting needle and you're going through all the stitches, you see. Let me get through that last stitch. Okay, and you see how I just feed it through. And what's nice about this is, say you make a mistake and you got to go back to that Lifeline. Well, you just pull that your original set of knitting needles out, and you knit them back onto your original set of knitting needles from the smaller one, where you would just, and it doesn't matter, you know, like I said, it's not going to affect your tension because that's not the needle that you're knitting to. But basically you just knit like this and you get it back on your original needle. Now I'm going to show you the way that I like to do lifelines. Okay, for this method, you can't do this method with all knitting needles. Some of your interchangeable needles, your circular knitting needles, and this has to be done on circular too. You see how there's this hole right here where my blue needle is pointing. This hole goes all the way through on the other side. Okay, so what I do is I use a threader because it's hard to get that yarn through. And you see how I have it inserted through? Okay. So you take your scrap yarn again, and you want to feed it through the threader. And hopefully I can do this while filming. I may have to thread it off camera, we'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to film it off camera. I'll be right back. Okay, I have it now. Basically, I just fed the yarn through the threader, and then you just pull it through like that. Okay, and you want to do this on the needle that doesn't have your work, okay? And then you're just gonna knit your next row like you normally would. I got 4 more stitches. And also one thing I do want to point out, here I'm knitting, but it's whatever stitches your pattern calls for that you do on that row. Okay, so I have that row done. You want to take your stitches and pull them over like this, where it's on the wire piece that connects your needles, and you want to pull out the shorter strand like this. You just pull it out, then you pull it out from here, And now you have your lifeline. And I'll take it off the needle so y'all can see it. You see, it basically works the same way as the first method, in a sense. But yeah, those stitches aren't going to go anywhere. So that is some techniques on how to do a lifeline. And if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask. And I hope y'all are having a fabulous Yorny day. Be the light, and bye.